All right, so I think we started our YouTube live. I'm not sure if anyone have joined. We also have our Zoom link that if anyone have got that, you can join directly over Zoom and you can ask questions live. If someone is on YouTube live only, you can ask the questions by the chat messages. So as of now, I don't see anyone have joined. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes and let's see how the participation is coming up. If someone was trying to join on Zoom and they have moved out, I think they will be joining soon. They will be joining soon. Right, so I can see 4 people are watching. If anyone who is in YouTube, if you have any questions, you can chat there. You can send your questions by chat messages. Hey Vidya, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, hi Niladri. How are you?
Hey. All right, so I can see Vidya joined. Samit also have joined. All right, Samit, are you able to hear me? Okay, Samit joining from
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, see, the primary agenda of today's call, we will be going more into an open session, ask about any questions or any areas, or you want to share some stories that you have, any experience that you want to share. I have Joydeep also here, who will be also one of our instructor. He has a huge experience on scale agile and agile coaching area. So he will also be able to answer in couple of areas. Whoever, okay, someone is asking in the chat as Zoom link. Hasti, please take care of all those chat messages if you can. If it is asking any issues, let me know. All right, and Samit, you have any questions, or Vidya, if you have any questions? Ram, okay, great. Ram also have joined.
Hi.
All right,
Yeah,
so yeah, Samit, please go ahead.
1 minute. I lost your video. Ah, yes, here it is. So yeah, so Niladri, my question is, so I had recently talked to you about a new team, right? So we have a new team. We have a new product owner with 7-8 years with the on the client side. We have it's a data and analytics background. So I'm not I come from a product development and software development background. So I'm trying to understand understand how they
Your voice gone
Now-
broken in. Yeah, please continue. All right, so Samit have gone off. I
Yeah,
see Deepika,
uh,
you have. Okay, yeah, Samit, please go ahead. Okay, Samit, I think there are some bandwidth issues. I will move on to someone else. Vidya, Ram, or Deepika, do you have any question?
Yes, Niladri, good evening. So I am working as a Scrum Master with one of the organization. So I want to know the recent trend in the market for Scrum Master role. Because, like nowadays it has been clubbed with either PO role or leads role. It can be a developer or testing, as like they are preferring that. So what is the market trend and is it
The
safe?
market trend, when we talked about different market trends, different organizations, they work on their own culture. And if you see certain variations from the expectations of the organization's point of view. Now, if you talk about Scrum Master's key roles or key responsibilities remain same, whatever it was expected from a core Scrum Master 10 years before and today, it's same. Now, what the changes happen is the organization and industries is going towards more into the scaling agile way. So you may see is some of the scalability expectations from the scalability point of view may be coming up. Now, few organizations, they are just transitions from waterfall and they still have that management mindset or the command and control mindset, and they will be expecting that you also do some kind of project management kind of activity. You will also, they will expect that you will manage the team instead of facilitate. But if you are working on a real matured agile organizations or an organization who have the mindset to go towards maturity, you will be able to see a different flavor from the other people's. Now, if you talk about trends, there are many other tools that coming up that people are started using, lots of collaboration, because as of now, the biggest changes happen compared with 4 years back is mostly everyone is working on a distributed way. After COVID, people are not having that face-to-face interactions in a real terms. So you may see some variations that people are not that working as a co-located way, and they are taking help of different tools like Miro, Miro, and if you are working on Safe Collaborate, those are different tools that we are using. I will ask Jaideep if he wants to add something. You can add something that you wants to on this question.
Yeah,
All right,
you have
okay.
nicely explained. Nicely explained, and generally it happens when companies transition to the agile ways of working. So sometimes actually we are used to habit on the manager mindset. So it initially it takes time, but gradually, ideally, it should be the all rules should be separate, like PO, SM, and whatever is prescribed in Scrum Guide or Safe. So it will be growing gradually. It will be done, but it should be not that club into a different role into one role. It will be difficult to manage.
Okay.
So anyway,
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. But how we'll convince, like, or how we will coach the client people if they are very aggressive, if they are having very aggressive timelines and they are not ready to follow Scrum or anything. So I have tried with various things, but somehow they try to convince me back saying that we don't want to follow Scrum or anything, or we are not towards agility. So client people are not willing, and
When you mention the term as client, I'll like to understand that whom do you want to mention as client? Means whom do you think they are client, or whom do you call as a client?
yeah, our customers.
Your customers. Do you have a product owner?
Is
There is absence of product owner.
I do think because for the new experience
Yeah,
because
just Godse, can you please go on mute? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please, Deepika, go ahead.
There is no PO, but the manager is the person who is giving us the requirement.
Yeah, so first you what you are trying to solve here is the symptom that what you are looking at the client is too aggressive. That's a symptom. What is the root cause? You don't have a proper Scrum team. You don't have a product owner. You don't have that values and principles that you will, as a Scrum team, you should not be discussing or taking command from anyone. And as a product owner, you will be coordinating with that. Who is the product owner? Who owns the product? Who belongs to your customer side? So if you form your proper Scrum team, so try to talk with your management or with your agile coach that can we start working on agile, because what we are talking about, it's not actually a real agile, that you don't have a product owner, a manager who is asking you to follow Jira, or they are asking you to follow Scrum, and they says, okay, these are the group of people who are your client and you need to respond to everyone. And over there, you will see lots of obstacles coming up. Try to first find out, can we identify one person within that client who can take the ownerships of the product requirements, prioritizations, and become as a single point of contact from the team in case they have any questions about any of the user stories requirement, any of the acceptance criteria. They want to collaborate and clarify what are the acceptance criteria. They want to negotiate on the acceptance criteria. They should be one person. Now, whenever you see, there are many anti-patterns you may see that from a service industry, you don't have a proper product owner. They hire one person and says, okay, this will be acting as a product owner. That's become a shadow or proxy product owner. They don't have that authority to take decisions. And you, whatever you deliver, the client says, no, this is what we were not expecting. We are expecting something else. So the communication gaps will be coming up. Are you able to understand, Deepika, what I'm talking about? Jaideep, at any point of time, if you want to add something, feel free to add.
I just want to add, I want to ask Deepika. Deepika, do you have any business analyst in your team?
No, there is absence of BA and also PO. The client manager itself is gathering like requirements and giving all the preparing, managing all the backlog items. And initially,
so your manager is doing the BA role. So he is gathering all the requirement gathering.
Manager in the sense not from my from the client side. The client their reporting manager is doing that.
So Niladri, in that case, can he do some proxy PO work or proxy PO work? The person who is gathering the.
Those are workaround. Now, whatever we are trying to do, because of different organizations' constraints nowadays, we are trying to find out what is the best workaround. And whenever you work on a workaround, there will be some problems coming up. What is basic? GM Bones, can you please go on mute? I'll put you on mute. So normally what will happen is you will still try to find out, Deepika, if you understand Scrum, you are working on Scrum, Kanban, SAFe, what you are working on, Deepika?
Scrum, Niladri.
So Scrum, do you know what are the key roles of Scrum?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have all the key roles?
Except like we don't have that one of the key role is missing.
So you know that if until that role is not there and your manager says talk with the clients and it's not one person, right? Even if you have one person, you can try to find out, okay, that person may be our PO. But if you have multiple peoples, when you go for sprint planning, who does the prioritization? Do you have a product backlog?
That's what Niladri, nothing is organized here and they don't follow. It is like that person says, if team is still working on the current backlog, why should we do for the planning for the upcoming sprints? So it is like until we finish the current sprint activities, they are not giving us the backlog. So it was.
So what is the sprint duration?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So are the people able to finish their committed work in 2 weeks?
Yeah, initially they were not providing acceptance criteria. From team point of view, it was like team were completing the task. The review was done with him directly, and also it is like everything will be fine. And at the last day of the time, it is like when he shared the when he asked his own, like from the client point, if any lead is doing the code review, If there is some changes, then again the same task, like the repeated task, will be continue forward. So in that way,
Yes. So if you are saying that you have finished everything in the sprint, right?
Mm.
So let's say that was sprint 5. You are about to start your sprint 6. What you will be committing for the sprint 6? Where are those user stories if you don't have a product backlog?
Yeah, I agree, Niladri, but that is what it is what like I'm trying to convey here. Until we deliver, they are not ready to give any new user stories. So that is the situation now,
Yeah,
scenario.
so you are in kind of a waterfall. It's not even close to agile, because if you are not having a backlog, you don't have a product owner, they are giving the work, the team is not aware of what will be coming, you are not having a opportunity to refine your story. Do you understand the entire values and principles of agile and the values of Scrum? If you understand that, when you are doing a retrospection, do you have someone from the client who is giving the work, or they are joining that retrospection? Are you identify what are the problems and find out
Initially,
2 or 3?
yeah, initially we were having that retrospective. Then they said that I don't want developers to waste time in all these Scrum ceremonies. So I have highlighted this with our management also, and I have tried to like bring to the clients notice also that we have these many ceremonies and we have to do it and all. So some of they are very reluctant, or they resist for having all these events. And
Okay.
for now that project is rolled off, but still I wanted to analyze and find like how could like in a better way I could have dealt with such client, like changing the client mindset to agile way of working.
Yeah, so Deepika, to summarize your current situations, there are lots of area we need to change, or we need to modify the way that we are working. So maybe we can have a separate discussion on particularly your topics. There are many different areas, and you cannot change everything overnight. You may find out, okay, what are the areas that we are not following the way Agile is suggested. Just look for the values and principles. Pick one area that identify this area we will be fixing. Take a mutual agreement with everyone that we will try to fix this. And you bring your customers or client as well, that, okay, if we don't do that, this will be the problem you will face. Now, if you are not doing, for example, that if you don't have a product backlog, the team don't know what will be coming in a future sprint. When they will get the work, they are surprised. Okay, this is something they need to analyze. They need to have lots of discussion. And that way you waste lots of time to start the sprint. Some point of time to start the sprint on the scheduled date, you start with lots of assumptions. And your client says, we'll let you know. At least you start the sprint and we'll let you know. And that is where the problem creates. So find out that at least we form a backlog at this point of time. And whatever the client have in their mind, at least they should have twice or thrice of our velocity in backlog ready and refined. So go into that way, right? All right, so I'll quickly go into few of the chat messages. One YouTube chat came from Vivek Khade. He says, is it possible to join as a Scrum Master without having experience, but based on certification? As currently I am working in garment industry and wanted to shift in IT industry, kindly advise. See, Scrum Master, if you want to start as a Scrum Master without an experience, do you understand the SDLC flow? Now, why Agile is coming up? What are the values of Agile, and what are the principles of Agile? If you understand them, are you in a position to apply them? Many times what happens is many persons who understand the concept, everyone who wants to Scrum Master, they may be starting at some point of time. They are new to the Scrum, but at least you need to have some understanding of IT industries or the software development process. What do you mean by testing? What do you mean by automation testing? What do you mean by when we talk about refinement, or what do you mean by stories? If you understand all those concepts, then you can start applying within your team. But if you are, think about, if you want to join a new company, and they have a job opening. You are applying for a job. They have 1 positions and 20 resume came up. You are the person who don't have an experience on Scrum. The chances is very low your resume will be get shortlisted. So whenever you are new to Scrum, Scrum Master is somewhere, even it says you are a coach, friend, or facilitator to the team, but you need to have a strong knowledge and hold on Scrum. And that you can gain when you are working on Scrum or Agile within your team, gain some knowledge, and then you can move forward on that area. Jaideep, do you have anything to add here?
No, you have nicely explained, Niladri.
All right, great. And there are any other comments? Someone from chat message, Ram Vedu, asking what's the difference between story point and estimation? All right, Ram, story point is a measurement unit where we measure the size of a user story with a relative sizing. It's not an estimation. Normally, it's not a good idea to talk about estimation. When we talk about estimation, that's always we think about an hourly effort estimation. Those are 2 different measurement units. When we talk about story point, that's a relative difference between 2, 3, or multiple user stories. I mean, you can think about the factors like how complex the story is, how much work it is having, how much you know about it, how much you don't know about it. Based on that, you will be relatively sizing different stories. Now, 1 story 5 pointers may take 10 hours by the team. Another story 3 pointer may take 15 hours. It's all depends who is actually working on them, what their experience level is. So never relate with story point and effort hours. Now think about when we talk about complexity, what do you mean by complexity? Let's assume that one organization acquired another organizations and they realize the entire web page they have created their company name as hard-coded. Now, this company needs to change on 500 different files to change their company name to a variable. So the work is not complex. It's a very simple work, but the volume of work is too high. Similarly, if you look into another situations where, let's say, there are 5 stored procedures which are generating a report, and the report is taking kind of 10 seconds to populate. Now, the goal, they created a work and they may be asked to generate the report in 1 second. There are 5 stored procedures. They need to optimize the entire logic, algorithm, and everything. Only 5 stored procedures. So the volume is low, but the complexity is high. So based on that, you will find out how much time, how much story points it will be compared with the other stories you have. So that's a basic high level difference. There are many other discussions points can come up, but I believe you got the high level understanding. All right.
Niladri,
Okay.
I just want to add. So in
Yes.
real life, what we used to do, like this sizing, so we find one base story, like one story we identified that it will be 3. So based on these 3 user story point or user story, we take another story and we compare it whether it is more complex or more risks or anything. By doing this complexity, so these things, we give them either 2 or more. If it is more complex, more thing, then we give it to 5. So in real life, we do like this. We are just comparing one base story with other. This way, we give the story points and sizing the story. Niladri, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Jaideep. So I believe that answered the questions, and I think Praveen Vishay in YouTube asked one more question. Can sprint be done without DOR if you have acceptance criteria and DOD in place? All right. So Praveen, you need to understand acceptance criteria and DOR or DOD are not related. Acceptance criteria is altogether different thing, and DOR is a different thing. DOR is a policy for the team that whether they should start working on that story or not if those criteria are not met. So if you have 100 stories and one definition of done, If you have 100 stories, that means you have 100 acceptance criteria, because each user story have their own acceptance criteria. But for the whole team, you have one definition of ready. That definition of ready may have different list criteria, maybe 5 criteria they have on their definition of ready. This says each user story has to have an acceptance criteria. That's first criteria of your definition of ready. I'm just giving an example. Another definition of ready says all the story should have refined by the team and mutually agreed. All the stories should have story point estimated. All the story should have a wireframe attached. These are the list of criteria, very generic criteria. The team should ask a story. The team should refer to commit a story or plan the story for the sprint planning or mark the story as ready. If it is not done, then you will not be able to work on that. So acceptance criteria is again when each story, 100 story, 100 acceptance criteria, one team, one definition of done. Maybe 5 team, if they're working for the same product, all the 5 team will be having one definition of ready. And definition of done will be also follow on the same way. So that's a very high level area. So if you have further questions, you can join our Zoom and ask the questions, or you can type in. I will come into our Zoom and see if anyone, you can ask the questions over here. I can see Windows 10 and Rambabu, Deepika, Anil, Subodh, Dheeraj, and Subhash. Yeah, Samit.
So I have a few questions I typed in on the chat also as I speak. So as you know, as I said that we have a new project. It's a data analytics and features engineering kind of a project, you know. And it's not the kind of traditional software development that I have experience in. So the problem I'm facing is that initially, to start with, the project has started, product owner is about 7-8 months old, and we have the engagement manager who is taking the requirements and explaining the requirements to the team. Now we are in the requirements gathering phase mostly. So most of the stories that are, or the features that are coming to us require people to talk to business stakeholders, gather requirements, understand the scope, and then they move on further as to what is to be done. In such cases, how to chart out the stories, because we won't be having story points because people don't know about the complexities, people don't know about the background of the application, and people don't even have a DOD. They're not able to come up with a DOD, and they don't know how to break their stories. I mean, the breakdown structure. They know how to create tasks and all, but they're not able to slice the stories into smaller stories. They have got the requirement. Let's say, for example, you have a data source, collect the data, create an output. Create an output target schema. You have input schema, you have output schema. Then you use this output schema in a program. So the software part, I'm okay. But the part where there's features engineering and analysis part, that is where I, as Scrum Master, and from my personal technical background, I'm not sure. So I'm depending upon them, how they can help me slice the stories. The problem I'm facing is that since they're gathering the requirements and understanding the scope, so can we really create our acceptance criteria, estimates? In fact, can we really create the stories around
let me ask a couple of questions here. What's your role there?
Scrum Master.
Scrum Master. Okay. Do you know who is your product owner?
Yeah, it's from the client side. Okay.
And that person is dedicated product owner for you?
Well, he's getting requirements from some other senior business stakeholders, and he tells the team to discuss the requirements with them, to discuss the scope with them, scope and what is to be done. He gives a high level. So there's some senior business stakeholders from the different areas of work.
Yeah, but the team should only discuss with product owner. The team is not going to discuss with product owner. Has to explain. But if the product owner owns the product, there are some instances, if it is required, they can discuss with the stakeholders. Product owner will be facilitating that. But ultimately, as a Scrum Master, you should bring up that product owner. You should be telling us, okay, these are the stories. You will not be. Now, you mentioned one term called this is requirement gathering phase. And you are going into that phase gated approach. When you go for agile, or a Scrum, we don't go for a phase-gated approach, like this is a requirement phase, this is design phase, this is development phase. We don't go into that phase. And if you're going into that, that means you're still in waterfall. You are not in Agile. So first you need to find out that what's our product goal is. You know that product owner understand the product goal, and we have a product backlog. All the stories that we'll be having that should be aligned with that product goal. Now, the stories, whenever you create a stories, whether you create, your team member creates, your product owner creates, you create an intent of the work. You may write it in at the very beginning. Once you'll mature, you can start writing it in as a I want so that format. That's okay. But initially, you have written, okay, one-liner. That's the intent of user story. And each user story, there is a concept called conversation, because whatever you have written as a one-liner summary of the user story, that's not the full requirement. That's an invitation of ongoing conversation. So everyone should go through that conversation. Normally we go through for each stories in our backlog refinement session. You have a list of product backlog items. Now, what you are mentioning that we don't have the story format because no one understands how to break those features or a big requirement into stories, right? So now, as a Scrum Master, you give a training to the product owner or the list of people that how to feature breakdown workshops, or bring them out, show them, lead by example. Okay, this is one requirement, and this is different way we can break down. You give them what is stories are, how you can bring that independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small and testable concept, the invest criteria that you can apply with the user story. What is prioritization? And you can bring up as a story point, give them the training, because as a Scrum Master, you are not just working on Jira, you are a facilitator, you are a teacher, you are a mentor for the team. You should have enough knowledge about Scrum so that you can do that mentorship. Now, if you know that, you can roll out a couple of workshops that, okay, as of now, what we have realized that we need to understand something and create a working agreement that, okay, we are understanding that this is something new. We want to go through a change. If you remember, there is something called Tuckman's J-curve, teams dynamic, that how teams go from forming, storming, norming that way. So you can make everyone expectations that when we are transitioning into this stage, there will be a performance dip you can see on their performance. So what you are right now, you cannot just inject a little quality improvement in some areas. You need to start from the very basics of understanding how we can apply this Scrum or Agile. What is the difference that Agile suggests, what we are doing. And you do one thing, just create worksheets, 4 columns. Create, okay, these are my observation. These are the problem from my observation. And then you can say, what is my recommendations? And what is the benefit of that recommendation? So you may have created 20 different ideas that this is what you have observed that have a problem. You need to mention that problem, because if you want to get a buy-in from your management, you need to show them, okay, this is the problem, this is the recommendations, and this is how we'll get benefit. Now, once you have identified, okay, these are the benefits, and your manager, as of now, I believe that you may have someone who is a decision maker, you are not taking the decisions. But everyone mutually, you need to make a execution plan of your recommendations, that when you cannot do everything overnight. And if you ask the team to change everything overnight, they will run away. So make a plan that's out of these 10 items, we agreed with 6 items with the management. And out of those 6 items, first 2, I am planning for the next 2 weeks. The third one, I am planning for the 3rd week. In that way, you make a plan and check a progress that how we are progressing. Is it clear? Jaideep, if you want to add something here.
No, I want to ask him one thing. Who writes the user story in your team?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the problem. So user stories are coming as a one-liner. Even the features or user stories, anything is coming as a one-liner. And to start with, what I had to do is I had to ask the team to write the 3C card and the acceptance criteria in discussion with the PO, and then later on I will try to shift this responsibility to the PO. Currently, what is happening is PO he's he is joining in with the team with the stakeholder from where he is taking the requirement, right? So while understanding the requirement, he is involving the team. So we are in a prerequisite sort of a phase, like in waterfall. So we are gathering the requirements, then we add that understanding description into the story, and then we will start working on it. So most of the stories, most of the features that are coming to us is like create a POC on such and such thing, or create data for such and such thing. What is input, what is output expected? Nothing is there, and it's just like traditional waterfall. My team is going to the business stakeholders, senior business stakeholders from different application areas, and they're gathering requirements, and that also is taking time. They wait for 1 day, they wait for 2 days, so it is taking quite a lot of time. So this is the problem. So I was thinking of preparing a roadmap and going to my management as well as the client with the roadmap. I will take some training sessions, and but I was trying to prepare a roadmap. If you could help me with what steps I can have in this roadmap.
Yeah, maybe we can connect offline, because what you are asking, it's not an easy answer that I can provide you, that this is what you need to sit together and find out, okay, this is how we can plot it. And whatever we are plotting, it may not work at the first attempt, but you need to review, okay, why it is not working, what we need to change. So that will be an inspect and adapt way we can proceed further, right?
Right. So this is so I started barely a month ago. So in the first sprint, it was kind of just warm up, kind of understanding the application and all. Second sprint, I started to implement some of the ceremonies. Third sprint is going to start. So I'm going to tell the client about what all ceremonies I plan to implement and who should be available in those ceremonies. One fine day in the daily scrum, our client, some global head, he came into the daily scrum. It was not actually going on as a daily scrum. My product owner and our engagement manager, they were just conversing with each other. And I was just there sitting, looking at them, what is this meeting for? So suddenly one day, global head comes and he says, oh, this should be the daily scrum. So everyone was confused, because I was already having the daily scrum in the morning.
Now, one important thing that you need to understand, whenever we want to apply Agile or Scrum, it's not just we will be applying within a team and then we will be move towards the management and go above. No, it always has to be a top-down approach. First, your management and your key stakeholders, decision makers, they should be agreed with. They should understand, because the easiest part to convert a team from a waterfall way to an agile team is easy for a team. But what is most toughest part is to bring the mindset change for the management or the senior peoples. So that's first you need to maybe talk with, do you have a coach or do you have a senior persons, or your organizations may have a agile transformation drive. You need to try to find out that person first and try to apply it from the top down. It has to be organizational wise mandate that we should be following this way. If you want to convert only a team where rest of the other organization is still having the traditional mindset, you will face lots of resistance like this.
Right. So I don't plan to bombard everything on the management or the team. So I want to take it step by step. But I would like to connect with you offline for the roadmap.
Sure.
The features should also be in the 3C format, right? I want.
Normally 3C we apply for user story, but feature, when you write a feature, you first need to find out that you need to remember that each feature may be completed in 1 month or 2 months. It should have a clear benefit hypothesis why this feature is required, and each feature have an acceptance criteria as well. Those features, the features that you are making that needs to be completed in 2 months, or let's say 2.5 months, that may have 30 different user stories as the user story will be delivered or created to fulfill the feature need. Now, each user, for example, a feature 1 have 30 user story, and each user story needs to be completed within 1 sprint. And all the 30 stories, you may need to complete it within 2 months. but none of the user story should cross their sprint boundary. Wherever they have started, they have completed. We can talk about that. Let me take a couple of other questions. The people are waiting. Jaideep, if you want.
Yeah, but I didn't really get that part where if the product owner wants to involve the team in the gathering of the requirements, so should we continue having this, or should we?
Yeah, you should. So it's not product owner wish. You as a Scrum Master need to facilitate that a pattern, a rhythm of requirement gathering. We call it as, let's say, backlog refinement, or earlier it was used to call as a grooming. You define that every Tuesday and Thursday, the entire team, Scrum Master, product owner will come into one room or one meeting. They will spend 1 hour and they will at least groom 5 or 6 user stories, or refine 5 or user stories that is top in the backlog. That you has to be put it as a part of your practice.
And the senior stakeholders who are involved in these requirements, they should be involved in a weekly or 2 weekly connect, right? To see how they what they want.
They should be connecting on the sprint review. Whenever you are doing a sprint review, you are demonstrating your working software. You are talking with them. They are talking about what their vision, what their expectation is. So sprint review is already designed for that purpose, that you are not only within your team, you are also have an opportunity to connect with your senior management, who are the stakeholders. Now, whoever is every options is designed in so perfectly that if you follow that, you will not be missing anything. But if you just do it bits and pieces, you will face difficulties.
Okay. But I'll connect with you for the roadmap.
Sure. Jaideep, if you want to answer, there is one question coming up. How do you manage risk in Scrum and Kanban? It was asked by Naga Divya Gunda from YouTube.
Risk generally we cover, actually we do the execution part in 10 days sprint. Okay, so that's way we actually minimize our risk. So if there is anything like if you want to do some POC work or anything work, so after the sprint we go to the sprint review, and if there is any feedback we collect them and quickly, and we readjustment ourselves, and we do the backlog is reprioritized, or some new stories will be added based on their feedback. So this way we minimize the risk in our agile.
And on top of that, Vijay, if you can explain or give me an example, what do you see a risk is? What do you think as because what you think risk may not be a risk, that may be an opportunity. What you think risk may be a dependencies that can be resolved in backlog refinement. Or if you think there are some list of dependencies you have that you can connect with your user story, that maybe out of 100 user stories, these 3 user stories have some dependencies. That is what we am talking about, these risks. Or sometimes your, let's say, test environment is not ready. You are treating it as a risk. Normally, you can create, someone has to be work on that. So in Agile, we mark them as impediments. And you can mark those are the user stories have some impediments, and these are the impediments. If you really wants to manage a risk, Agile, this is a open way of following those values and principles. And whatever you are using, whether Scrum or Kanban, feel free to create a risk backlog. Make some percentage that this risk has to be resolved by this team only. Make a capacity allocation of 20% of the risk resolutions for every sprint. Find out what best work for you. So it's not having a very rocket science, or you don't need to have a risk management process very, what I'll say, very clearly prescribed anyway. You find out, okay, this is what works for you, that will work. All right, so if you have more questions, you can ask or chat in here. Ram Viru says, how do we manage sprint reviews, sprint planning, and sprint retro on the last day of the sprint? See, normally sprint review and sprint retrospective happens on the last day. Sprint planning we do on the first day of the, it's not everything we will be doing it in the first day. What the sprint review, you can still do the retrospective 1 day later as well, but it must happen. But sprint review and sprint retrospective, the good practice is finish it on the last day of the sprint. And your sprint planning, you can start it with the first thing of your first day of the next sprint. And doesn't this affect the bandwidth of the team and also affect the capacity? Yeah, definitely. So whatever the time you need, it's every event is time boxed. Your sprint review, you may define that we'll go for 1.5 hours. Sprint retrospective will go for 1 hour. I'm just giving an example. And you already have planned that whenever you are doing your capacity planning, if you're going through a story points, your velocity is came up based on by applying all those, spending time on all those events. If you're doing in story point, hourly based capacity, many people does that. So you can plan that based on your capacity planning as well. Okay, there is some questions comes up. Vijay, sprint planning will be done on the, okay, thank you. I think that answered that. So if the sprint planning is done on the first day of the sprint, doesn't it affect the capacity? Yes, it's affect capacity planning will include all the meetings, holidays, leaves, training. Okay, thanks, Vijay. Learn the sprint planning should be done last day of the sprint. Okay, all right, great. And any YouTube questions so far? No. Any other people's, you still have any questions?
One quick
Yeah,
question.
we have
Hi,
one,
Niladri. I have a few questions.
Yeah.
So, one of the project which I am working, like it's a banking domain. So they have given the complete requirement in the form of a user story, and that user story is going in. It is spilled over from multiple sprints. So how to handle that kind of situation where all the teams, your front end team, back end team, and testing, everyone are working on same user stories, and it is going in multiple sprints. So
Okay, so let me try to understand that they have given a user story. How many user story they are giving on roughly?
roughly some 10 to 12 user stories.
Okay, they give you by email or they added into the backlog?
They added in the backlog.
Okay, when they added in the backlog, was there any other stories previously there on the backlog?
No.
So at any given point of time, your product backlog have only 10 to 15 stories.
Yes.
Okay, now you got 10 to 15 user story, and when you got it, you are in between of a sprint.
Yes.
So let's say that sprint is sprint 5, and they expecting those backlog item you will be working on sprint 7, right?
Yes.
Is it correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what's your question is, if they have added that,
So estimation, they are not giving estimation properly. Like
they are not the people who will give the estimation. What's your role? You are a Scrum Master, right?
Scrum Master. Yes.
So your job is to have those stories estimated from your team. Your whoever is creating the user story, their job is not give you the need. They will support you to answer any of your questions, go through backlog refinement.
Okay.
And your team will be estimating the user story. When we talk about estimation, I'm talking about story point estimation. So your business, product owner, stakeholders, they will not give you the estimations. You need to identify what will be your estimation, right?
But who will slice down the user story? Let's say that will be fitted only in this sprint or that one.
So as a Scrum Master and the team, when you are talking about one of the user stories, they created 15 user stories on your backlog. You will be looking to whether this user story falls under invest criteria. Is it independent? Is it negotiable? It is valuable.
Okay.
And is it small? Small means, is it, can this user story fit into one sprint or not? If not, try to find out the story splitting techniques. What techniques you can apply to split it into smaller story, where each story should be able to generate a value at the end of the sprint. So as a team, decide as a Scrum Master, your definition of ready may have one criteria clearly defined that all the user stories should meet the invest criteria. And whenever you are marking the user story as ready, that means it is ready to be planned in your sprint. So at the time of marking that one criteria, if it is not meeting, if it is not small enough, the story is not ready. You can clearly mention this story is not ready to be worked on. We need to split into smaller story. Everyone you brainstorm and find out that how we can break it down.
Okay. And
Yeah.
in the burn down charts and how we will give only estimations for the user stories, not for the subtask, right?
Come again. Come again? I think missed it.
So for subtask, do we estimate in the story points or
No. Subtask does not goes into story point estimation. Only stories.
but how we can track in the form of reports, like in burn down charts? Only we can see the user stories, right? Not the subtasks.
In burn down chart, it's a sprint burn down or release burn down, feature burn down. What burn down you are referring to?
Print burn down.
Yeah, sprint burn down, you have both the options, story point based and hour based on your y-axis. You can go with both of them. Ideally, if you're going for a sprint backlog and you are working on hours, go with hours for a sprint level burn down on y-axis. If you are
Okay.
not using hours, if you are a mature team, you are only with story points, then go with burn up. Don't go with burn down, because story points at sprint level burn down chart does not give enough value. Is it clear?
Okay. Yeah, but
All right.
how we can make sure that, let's say we are completing the subtask. Let's say team members are working on subtask. Okay, so
Mhm.
how it will reflect in the burn down? Like it is
Once
not
you
just
will be, see, what is burn down? Can you tell me, high level, what do you mean by burn down? What is the
burn down
key
is,
purpose of burn down?
how much work it is remaining in the sprint. How
Yeah,
much work
so
left?
each subtask, for example, one story have 5 subtasks or 3 subtasks.
Okay.
Design, development, and testing. The design was they have estimated it will be a, let's say, 8 hours work. On the
Okay.
next day, they have worked on 3 hours. They change it to remaining hours is 5 hours. So you'll be able to see the actual linear burn down have dipped down to 3 hours. On the
Okay.
next day, they realize it needs more designing, and they spent even 5 hours, but they says, I need 20 more hours. So the
Okay.
remaining, you will see a spike on your burn down because the remaining is got increased. So it
Yeah,
will always
now
represent the remaining
hours.
amount of work.
So okay, in terms of hours, we can able to see the burn down, how
Yes.
they are progressing. Yes, thank you, Neeraj. Thank you.
All
sir.
right. So I got one more questions from Bala Ganesh for AI ML projects, how to implement Scrum. When do you mean by AI or ML projects? What exactly you are doing? You are learning AI ML. You are doing some constructive work. What exactly you are doing? Whatever you are doing, it's not necessary that you'll have to go to Scrum. First, find out the nature of work that you are doing, that there's something that you can plan for 2 weeks. And you know this is the exact work that will be worked with, and no disturbance will happen. You can go with Scrum. If you think that, okay, the work is actually too dynamic and we need to release very frequently, we don't know what will be coming tomorrow, go with Kanban, where you can able to accommodate the dynamic requirements, the ad hoc requirements you will be able to work on. So maybe I don't have the details idea of what exactly you do in AI or ML projects or your team does. So you need to explain that. We will be able to go into that. I got another questions, Ponka Neov, what are the best techniques to prioritize stories and why? Moscow, WSJF, also what practices to apply sprint follow-ups? I'm not able to see what exactly you mean by sprint follow-ups. Prioritization techniques, there are many different techniques, primarily at the team level. The easiest way you can go that affinity bucketing or affinity analysis, you can go with Moscow. That's another type of affinity bucketing. You can also go with something risk value ratios and find out high risk, low value, and low risk, high value, high risk, high value. In that way, you can categorize them. If you are building a product for your customer, you look for customer satisfaction level, you do a prioritization using Kano analysis. The WSJF is a typically scaled agile framework terms. They use it to prioritize the features or capabilities or the epics on the top of team levels. At the team levels, you can still apply that. and always use a ranking method that you already do for your backlogs. That's a very summarized way I explain. If it answered your questions, great. If not, you can chat later. Okay, I can see there are a couple of questions comes up. Subhas want to understand the experience of what is that? Integrating design sprint with sprint. What do you want to understand the experience of integrating design sprint with sprint? Jaideep, you want to answer this?
Do you want me to explain that?
Yeah.
What is you mean by the design?
Yeah. So when you talk of design sprint, this is obviously we are talking from a perspective that let's say we follow the double diamond approach, wherein we are looking at design thinking, and over the 2 weeks, you look at empathy, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So in our environment, we have a situation wherein the design sprint is spun off from the main course or main Scrum process in that sense, in the sense that it's first the design sprint, and that is followed by the sprint in question, which will consume the output of the design sprint, right? So I wanted to understand the experience you guys have in trying to integrate this, because another school of thought is that you can integrate this design sprint within a conventional sprint, right? So I just wanted to understand the experience that you guys have from your part of the world to see how you've implemented this. Happy to provide any further elaborations if.
All right. Okay. Jaideep, do you have something to add?
Yes. So Shuvas, let me give you answer. So in design sprint, actually we have done first before execution or before creating the features. So first we complete our design part, whatever you have just explained, design sprints, especially before PI planning also we did that. And after that, once it is ready, then we identify our epic, we identify our features and user stories also. Then we go to the our execution sprint. So this way we have done. Okay. Another design, you can say UX design. So when UX design comes, then yes, sometimes it is a parallel. We have a parallel team for the UX design team. So they actually used to do their UX design before our execution sprint or development sprint. So once they're done, then we accordingly we plan in our PI planning when they will give us the UX designs and thing, and then we accordingly we plan. So Niladri, you want to add anything?
Yeah, normally when we talk about design sprint, design means designing of multiple areas. You may design the requirement, you may design UI, UX, you may design your architecture. When we talk about the traditional sprint, that's done by the development team, the engineering team, they develop. Whatever they develop, let's say at sprint 5, the specific design that need to be followed, maybe in terms of UX, maybe in terms of architecture, done by another team, which is come up as a kind of a common team for 5 teams. There are 5 engineering team, they will follow a same design. So they may go one level ahead of them, or 1 sprint or 2 sprint ahead of them.
Yeah, here I'm not alluding to the fact that I understand it could be engineering, architectural design. It's not that. There are some, Joydeep, can I seek some clarifications on what you're trying to say earlier? Because you mentioned something which is very, very interesting, wherein you brought up the fact that you're getting ready for before a PI starts. So obviously you're talking of a program level implementation, and there you're talking about.
Yes, program level on it's definitely that time product management team actually works. They
Correct.
go to the customer and they will gather the requirements. Accordingly, they design the system thinking and accordingly they design actually. So first they identify that part, and once that the operational value stream has identified and the workflow has been designed, then actually the comes of the developer value stream, you can say we design. So before PI planning, pre-PI planning activities, that operational value stream at least we did. And after that, we then gather up the teams and then we develop the development stream. I think you got my point.
Yeah, so that's typically applied with SAFe. So many of
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
we don't use SAFe. So if whoever is not into SAFe and you mention operational value stream or development value stream or how to build a system. So that is actually the design thinking is actually a system thinking. And we go through your multiple different empathy mapping, or you can go for customer journey. Those are all part of those design thinking in terms of SAFe. The same thing that you can do by naming it a different way ahead of time when the team will be working on to form your features, to form your epics, to form your architecture or enablers, you may need to work on something ahead of the sprint teams. So you may go with, there are many divergent and convergent thinking in SAFe that you can go with that to find out, okay, what exactly the different options that you have, how you will be forming your epic. And that is why once you formed your epics, that may go through, okay, the feature breakdown, and then that will go into a story breakdown from program backlog to team backlog. And the team will be applying that in your PI planning and commit to the sprint. In that way, it will work.
Thank you, Joydeep. Thank you, Niladri.
All right, so I think we will take a pause or stop over here. And I will quickly show you that whoever is joined for the first time, you can look into the calendar of our future programs that we have. We will be doing it in every Thursday. And over here, this is 26 Jan. We have these open house discussions. Next, we will start with, for example, the next Thursday, we'll talk about coach as mentor. Then we'll be talking about these are the different topics that we have. Every week or every month, we'll be adding those topics. This is our target idea. And for example, if you want to interested for any of the topics and you want the Zoom link, just click on that. And over here, you will be able to join the event right now. Or if you want to add it to your calendar, click on this calendar. It will download your ICS file. At any point of time, if you have missed your this particular event and you want to watch the recording, at the bottom of this, we will be having all the recordings coming up, the 5 recordings. And also later on, if you want to go little past 2 months or 3 months, you can click on that show more links. So it will show us all those. So this is the right now we are currently live, and it will be showing all those recorded videos over here that we have done. That's a very high level of how you can join that. There is an options if you think that you have some good idea, good knowledge, and you want to share with them, you can give your name and number. We will connect with you so that we can get the knowledge that you have, and the community can also get that knowledge from you guys. I believe that answers everyone's questions today. Is there any questions we still have unanswered? No, I think that will be all. Okay.
Very quick
How do we connect with, if we just wanted to understand if this a bit further, explore this a bit further, Ladri, so I will connect with you or Joydeep or both.
You can connect with either of us. So you, we have a Telegram group that there, though it's a big crowd, you can drop us a mail at support@agilejudges.com, or we will be creating a community where we can have a question answers post this. Let us come up with that how we can make it more collaborative way where we can take further question answers after the event as well.
Thank you, Niladri, as usual. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you. All right, great. Thank you. Thanks everyone for connecting and giving your valuable time, making this learning a mutual learning for everyone. We will connect once again on next Thursday with the topic at coach as mentor, how you should be mentor as a coach. Till that time, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.